Hello, hello. It's me, Jessica Lee, and today we are wrapping up a Winter Kisses Sew Along with Deb S., the Pug Mama Quilter. So I left off at needing to work on those green blocks. I have my 3 units complete to make that block. So here are those corners. Again, each of my piles have 6 in them. That was just a friendly reminder. If you notice, my corners, see how there's 1, 2, 3 pieces? That's because this is supposed to be a half square triangle. And I cut the way the pattern was written. Well, if I would have thought ahead a little bit, I would have cut and sewn this, and then I would have left that as a long piece. But oh well. I have not done the half square triangles on the red or the greens because I'm just not sure yet my thought process on that. Hopefully by the end of this video, we will have a decision. So because of the screen size, I'm going to have to move some of this around. Let's see. We have those. And then that unit's going to go in between. We'll go ahead and push those up a little. That unit is going to go in the middle. We'll bring these guys in. Bring these bottom ones into play. And add him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew in rows. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll press the way that the pattern is telling me to. And cross our fingers that they come out to the correct size. So I have my 3 rows sewn, and I did press those seams open just to relieve some of that bulk. On this center one though, I pressed in, and then I repeated that same for the bottom one. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my pins, get everything lined up. You'll see here that I've got those green blocks placed with the red blocks up on the design wall. And now it's all about putting those together in rows. Rows are done and we are ready for borders. Alrighty, it's time to make some decisions. So the original has a thin gray border, a thicker red border, and then a plaid binding. I do not have the exact same red. I have this one instead. I do not have plaid. I actually have a green that I was able to find in the same line. So my thought process is I still have background left. So I'm thinking I'm actually going to do a thin white so that the snowflakes are floating. They're not going to be touching the border. I'll do a thin white, a thin gray, a little bit thicker red, a little bit thicker green. Now it's going to be a math game. And I traditionally don't like to put on borders, and especially not multiple borders. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll do the white real quick by itself, and then the gray, red, and green I'll do as units and then miter their corners at the end. Here you'll see that I have actually decided to do the first white with the first gray and then pin that on to the quilt. So I've definitely come to a final decision. Since I already, I broke it down. I know originally I said I would put the white on by itself and then build these. I just did it in pairs. It's fine. These were cut at 1.5 inches. So now the white is only 1 inch, which means the gray is only going to be 1 inch. So I'll probably go ahead and leave this red like we can see it. That's telling me 3, so by the time it gets sewn, it'll be 2.5. That'll be perfect. So 2.5, and then I'll go ahead and bring this guy back in at a 1.5, which will only leave, right? Let's go ahead and do him at a 2, so he stays a little thicker. We're gonna do red at 3, gray at 2, and then green. So if he's going to be 2 inches, currently the green is at 4. Three, 2, 4. That sound good to everybody? I am normally, like I said earlier, I'm not a border person. Borders just are not my thing. But I did want to bring in both colors. I do like having the gray there. And then at the end, whatever's left, if I have enough green left, I'll just go ahead and bind it. If not, I'll bring that red back as the binding, which will be perfectly fine. And as you can tell, I now have a sweater on because our temperature has dropped like 40 degrees. Let me get these cut. I do leave it folded when I cut. I didn't show that on the white and the gray earlier. And I'm guessing I probably should have, and I'm wondering why I didn't. I think the kid was home and awake and making noises. So I leave my fabric that's been sent to me off the bolt still folded, right? And then I fold, I leave it double stacked. I always come in here, I'm tripping over a chair. I always come in here and clean up one side. And my cutting table is on casters, so it does move around with me. And that way I can work both sides of the table. So I'm going to go ahead and follow a straight line on that ruler and then clean up this far edge. And then check my measurements, and it says I'm doing 3 inches. So I'll go ahead and measure out 6. And then I'll chop that in half at 3. So with it folded, we're going to assume we have 40 inches. Sometimes we have 44. This one we have, it's coming in at 21 after I clean this selvage off. So that's 42 inches. So 2 of those together will give me 80. So I'm going to treat each side of that quilt as a pair, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I need to cut that again. So when I do borders, I do try to utilize the mitering method, which means my borders need to be longer than called for to accomplish that miter. It will have to be long enough on both ends to match the measurements of its width. So if my 3 inches of red, 2 inches of gray, and 4 inches of green, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll need an extra 9 inches on all sides. what I can do to simplify that just a tad is use the gray and the red as a pair, like I did with that white and that gray round. So on the white and gray round, I only needed 2.5 inches on each side, because that's all it was, right? So the gray and the red will only be 5. That's a little bit more doable. So that's what we're going to do. We'll make this next round of borders as a paired unit with the red and the gray. And on this red, I got a third left. I got 12 inches. So that is definitely not going to be enough for a binding, which is telling me the green's probably not going to have enough either. So interesting. What I might have to do, I could totally do a scrappy, which that wouldn't bother me in any way. Kind of just alternate red, green, red, green. It might be kind of fun. So I'm going to do the same thing with this gray. Leave it folded, double it up. I already know that that edge is straight because I've been cutting it. We're going to do 2 inches. So I'll come to the 4. Again, I'm going to use 2 cuts per side. And yes, there's, you know, some waste there. That's just the way this is going to have to go. To measure out exactly, I don't know, what do I have it? To measure out exactly 69 inches plus 2 plus 3 plus, that is just not I'm not a fan of math. This is just easier for me. And I build scrap bags, and I use them. I give them away to people that use them. And then up next, it's going to be the green. The green is going to be 4 inches. So here's where I do have to do math. If I'm currently at 69 inches, I'm adding 3 and 2, which is 5. I'm not going to worry about that seam allowance at this time. Right? So 69 plus that 5 extra inches hanging off. And then 53 plus that 5 plus that 5. So I now need 63 inches going that way twice. And I now need 79 inches twice. And that's why using the 2 strips at 80 something inches just works for this, you know, for this method of building these borders. Again, ooh, I just smacked the phone. I am so sorry. Here's what I have left of the original gray. It's coming in at 8 inches. So that is a really nice chunk that is left over. And then green borders. So now, remember, we only had 41, right, 42 inches. That's 88. So that's not, let's see, 21, 42, 84 inches. So on this final round, I'm going to have extra strips so that I can have those overages. So it's going to take 2 1/4 strips per side. So instead of my original 8 strips, I'm just going to start off with 10 strips. And that way at least, you know, an extra 20 inches on each one, just to get me started. If I need to come in and measure out and cut another one, I will. And that is what happens when you change the written pattern. You then have to, you know, do all those alterations in your head, and it's just not fun. So we're doing green at 4 inches. I'm not going to double that one up. I'm just going to go ahead and slice. And I'm on camera, and I'm really hoping I have enough to do this. Am I going to run out, you guys? Let's see. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's 2 inches, so that's only a 4-inch. So on these greens, I might actually have to do standard piecing, you know, top, bottom, left, right. Because I'm only going to get 9 strips, which is okay. It's okay. Let's cross our fingers. He is 4 inches. And that is exactly what he is. So those will be done slightly different than the other ones that will be paired up. So I wasn't even sure to record this, but then I'm at the table with the camera, so I figured I might as well. I make my units. I do use a walking foot. I do have these seams open, and I do press this one open for the time being. When I go to put the border on the other border, or even the border onto the quilt, I find the center of the quilt, you can barely see, there's a pressed line right there. I measure out the border piece I need, I trim it, and then I find the center of that, and I pin. When I go to the sewing machine, I'm going to have the border on the top, and I'm going to have the quilt on the bottom. The quilt will be with the feed dogs, the border will be with the walking foot. Originally, when I put this first border on, I pinned at all these intersections. Now that I'm just putting the border onto the border, there's not really any crosshairs. So I'll just use my cutting mat, and I'll just, you know, lay them here nice and steady. And I'll just go every maybe 3 to 4 inches. I will come to these corners though, come to a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to mark myself with a pin right there, because that's where I need to stop, because that's my overhang for the next border's miter. So you'll see here that I have the walking foot on, I have the magnet set at a 1/4 inch, and I have pins. For the mitered part, I do use a diagonal line on my ruler, and then I go ahead and mark that line with a pencil. And here is the finished top, laid out sideways to fit in the picture. And here you'll find out about a surprise in just a second if you've made it this far into the video. Hi, it's me, Jessica Lee. So I am popping on here at the end of this video to announce a small giveaway. I so greatly appreciate each and every one of you that has subscribed and has followed along this journey with me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be showing my face. I would probably still be doing videos that only showed my hands and, you know, had the anonymous voice. I have what was pictured. up for a giveaway. It is all the remaining fabrics from the Winter Kisses Sew Along. I will also include the pattern. So there's a chunk of the red yardage, the gray yardage, and the green from the borders, and then all the full jelly roll strips that were left over, and then a small pile of remaining jelly roll strips and remaining white background squares. So it's not going to make the full quilt, but it can make a block or two, or you can mix and match with your reds and green holidays. So if you'd like to be entered for this giveaway, in the comments of this video, I need you to leave a red and green heart. Well, red heart, green heart, both. That way when I go back to find who's entered, I'll know to add you to the list. I'll probably do a random generator or some type of spinner or something. But to enter, I need you to leave those 2 emoji hearts, one red, one green. And that way I can know, you stayed to the end of the video and you entered the giveaway. Today is Tuesday, and I have no idea what the date is. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. So along this journey, I have had a birthday. I have had my 500 subscribers be reached, and I have a child's birthday this coming Friday. So this will only be open for a couple of days. What I'll do is Saturday morning, so Saturday the 28th, the last day of February, I will go ahead and do that generator. So you can enter now through midnight, right? Friday the 27th. Or at least before I pull the numbers, which I'll pull them upon waking up on Saturday the 28th. When I announce it, it'll be a post. And you got to watch out for that. You got to subscribe. You got to hit that notification bell. And then I will say who the winner is, and then you will have to email me. So in that post, I will also include my email. All right, good luck. And thanks again so much for following along with this sew along that we participated with Debes, the Pug Mama Quilter. So make sure to go and subscribe to her channel as well. Take care.